today's episode, in today's video, we have Gretchen Jaska joining us, and she's one of the top agents in the area, in the Houston area. And she's going to share 5 tips to get your offer accepted in a multiple offer situation.
Well, my number one tip would be pre-approved, because the sellers are looking at all the factors, comparing buyer to buyer, and they want to know the security that you have already gone through the process of pre-approval. Believe it or not, not every buyer is, and that gives you a real leg up. Also, you have an app or a way of called Connections, where we can get online and we can customize the pre-approval letter within the buyer's approval limits to tailor it to the sales price. So that's a really nice tool for the realtor to print that letter up with an exact price or an exact loan approval amount that they're looking for. The buyers many times are always looking for a good deal, and that's true. But when you're in a multiple offer situation, the competition is fierce. And most of the time, when I work with sellers, they are pricing their homes based on what the market value is, and then they're adjusting it based on condition. And if the buyers come in and say, hey, we're going to lower this price even more because it needs a few repairs, but it's been priced accordingly to account for those repairs, then your offer is going to come in way too low compared to the other buyers. My third tip would be when the listing agent says that this is a multiple offer situation and bring in your highest and best, they are not lying. I would trust them, and I would come in with your highest and best offer, because my experience is that more likely than not, they're telling the truth, and it gives you the opportunity to at least participate in purchasing the property. One thing I've done that really has helped with multiple offer situations, in the Houston Association of Realtors, we have a 2-day period where we have to turn in a pending sale after a home goes under contract. If I have a buyer that really wants a home badly and it's not too much needed in repairs from our own visual inspection, we will come in with a 2-day option period. Now nobody does that. And what you have to do there, before you even write the offers, you have to schedule the inspector to say, okay, can you come sometime tomorrow or the next day before we get committed into this offer? So you get your inspector lined up, you do the 2-day option, and then you can just basically decide, do we want to buy it? Are the repairs needed acceptable to us or not? Or do we want to let it go? The reason why that gives you an advantage is the listing agent knows that they do not have to turn this home into pending, so it doesn't kind of taint the listing. So like if a listing goes on the market and it's option pending, but it falls through due to repairs or something, it kind of makes the property look bad. But if they don't even have to report it as option pending because it's still within the 2-day grace period, then that gives the listing agent an advantage to protect their seller. So anyway, and that gives you the contract, which a lot of people don't realize you can do that. So that's one thing. And I would say believe the counteroffers. I had one just a few months ago that they came back and said, hey, we prefer your buyer. You know, they're pre-qualified with Cherry Creek, and he looks good, but we're $2,000 apart. If you can get him to come up $2,000, we will take yours over this other offer that's $3,000 or $4,000 higher. And the buyer didn't believe them, and so we did not get the contract. And I think that really would have been a great property for that buyer. So the buyers, they need to trust their realtor, and they need to believe what the sellers are communicating, especially in a multiple offer situation. It's a difficult time for everybody. We're all, both buyers and sellers agents, are all trying to do the best for their clients, but really, in the end, they're also trying to be ethical and do the best job they can. Someone is going to have their feelings hurt, but hopefully it won't be you.
Well, that's great information. Thank you so much for sharing, Gretchen, and thank you for mentioning the app that we have. That's an app that we have that we share with our referral partners, with our agents, and we can put in a maximum loan amount that the buyer is pre-approved for, and then if you need to go in and change it to match the offer that you're submitting, let's say it's 250, but you want to offer 220, you can go in and do that yourself, or you can just put in the amount, and as long as you're within those parameters, it'll send that out, right? So. Um,
That's been great because a lot of my buyers they look at homes in the 200 or the 250 range. You know, if they're buying a home in the 200 range, they may not want to put, you know, they're qualified up to 250. They might want to have it the loan approval closer towards the sales price.
right.
So, yeah, it's a great tool.
It's a great tool. Thank you. And good advice also on the amount. If you're off a little bit, $5,000 down the road over 30 years, it doesn't make that much of a difference, right?
Good
So
point.
and a lot of times we hear that cash is king, right? So if somebody else comes in, puts an offer on the house and it's a multiple offer situation, we think that if somebody submitted a cash offer, it's automatically theirs and we just lost it. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's the why would cash be considered better than a loan? Well, and the reason why is because it would be a guaranteed sale. The money would be available theoretically. But with today's pre-approved mortgages, they are almost guaranteed as well. By the time a person gets a pre-approval, they've already been checked for credit, assets. They're ready to go just as much as a cash buyer. Also, there's this little unknown of the cash buyer of actually, is the money going to change hands? Are they giving us correct documentation? There's a few little unknowns with that too. So anyway, I kind of feel like the mortgages, if it's a pre-approved mortgage, it's just as good as cash. It sometimes might even have an advantage because of the security of knowing that the mortgage company is going to deliver on the money.
Right, perfect. Yeah, and I'll sometimes say, from what I see, is that depending on how motivated the sellers are, if a cash buyer comes in, they're probably gonna lowball a little bit, right? If I'm paying cash, I'm gonna try to get a better deal, so I'll buy it for less, and I'm a cash buyer, I'm gonna
Right.
get it. But then if the sellers are not motivated, they'll say like, hey, I can wait 2-3 weeks, worst case scenario, and get another 20-30 grand, right? So sometimes that's not the case where, if they're not motivated, that they need to move quickly, right?
That's exactly right. Just they're not going to usually take the price and drop it quite a bit just because it's a cash offer if they can wait a few more weeks and get so much better return. So,
Right.
yes.
And so what are your thoughts also on another tactic that we hear helps is when you have a family buying the house, maybe doing like a family photo or writing a letter from the heart on why they love this house. And, is that still something you see today? Is that still something that works?
Yes, especially in a multiple offer situation. Unless it's an investment home, these people have been living in the property. They have been lovingly taking care of this property. They've just spent the past 2 or 3 weeks, in most cases, preparing the home for sale. So they have a lot of pride of ownership. And so if you write a letter saying the reasons why this home is appealing to you, you're not really going to be hurting your negotiation position, really, because you're only going to pay as much as you're going to pay. But you might be able to edge yourself out ahead of some of the other buyers who don't write a letter and help the sellers understand that this home is going to be taken care of. Something that they have also taken care of is going to continue to be taken care of. I think it's important.
Yeah, awesome. And then lastly, if you get a pre-approval, if you have a buyer come in and you're the listing agent and you get a pre-approval from, let's say you get 3 offers on a house and one is a big bank, another one is an online mortgage company, and then you have a lender who's locally, who's recognizable that you know or heard of. I mean, how does that play into, let's say if they're all exactly the same amount? Obviously, if it's a different price, that might be different, but let's say they all come in at 250, 250, and 250. So how do you differentiate on which offers you take? And how do you guys get clients? Yeah.
That's a good question. In the past 10 years or so, the mortgage market has really changed quite a bit. And there's actually been a lot of at times where sometimes the big banks are a little harder to deal with. Things don't quite happen in the timing that they promise. You're not just dealing with one loan officer who has a team of his own. It goes from department to department to department. You don't know who you're dealing with, and you've got things that need to be handled right away. So that's where I prefer dealing with people with local lenders that the buyer's realtor has dealt with in the past. That's one other thing I do when I write an offer is I tell people, hey, I have prior experience with this loan officer and he delivers what he promises. And that gives a lot of trust to the listing agent that this transaction is going to happen. So when you're competing, it's really all about the trust.
It's all about the trust, and everybody wants to make sure that it goes nice and smooth and closes on time, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's a big item. It's one of the big ones. Make sure you close on time because everybody, we get emotionally attached and connected, and we start planning and now I'm going to paint this and do that and set up movers, utilities, and then if it doesn't happen, now everything is all up in the air. So, well, thank you so much, Gretchen. I really appreciate you, coming in today and helping us and giving your feedback from an agent standpoint, from a buyer's agent and a listing agent. I think that's very helpful, and hope you guys like it. We'll make some more videos, so thank you so much, Gretchen, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.